Okay, going to do a video here that goes over started dogs and getting them acclimated and transition from their life here at our facility to your place and what you want them to do. First of all, we'd like to thank you for giving us the opportunity of purchasing a dog from us, having us train you a dog and ship you a dog, or come down and spend some time with us picking your dog up. The very first thing that you're going to want to do with your dog is to make your dog think that he just went to Disney World. Whenever this dog first transitions, if you pick him up at the airport, I would not take him out of the crate. I'd put him in the back of my truck or the back of the vehicle in his crate that we flew him to you in, and I would get him home in my backyard, and I would go straight to some tennis balls. I'll play with the tennis ball, that dog, and let that dog think that you're the funnest person on the planet. You don't want 5 people to overcrowd that dog when you first take him out the crate, because when they first come out the crate, they're going to look around and they're going to think, oh God, where am I at? What's going on? So you just want to bounce the ball around for him. Play with him, bounce the ball, play with him, bounce the ball, play with him. And you're going to want to do this anywhere from 3 to 4 days. Some dogs may only need 2 days. In 2 days, that dog is wound up and fired up and super happy to see you and chasing that ball all over and having the time of his life, you may want to go ahead and get ready to move to the next step, which we'll talk about in a second. If that dog after 3 days is still kind of looking around going, hey, you know, who are these people in this place? Kind of smells funny and I'm not sure what's going on here. We'll bounce that ball around a couple more days. Let that dog warm up and loosen up. You don't want to loosen a dog up for 2 months. This should take anywhere from 2 to 4 days. When you're doing this, just sit down on the ground. Don't make him sit. Don't make him heel. Don't make him stay. Don't try to give him any commands. His only rule is he's got to bring that ball back to you. So by sitting on a bucket or on a stool, sitting on the back patio, sitting in the grass behind your house, rolling that ball and playing with him over and over, that's just going to show that dog that you're his friend. So whenever you come down, if you come down here and pick your dog up, when you leave here with your dog, these handlers are going to try to get you and your dog pushed as far along as possible through the training the dog knows. On your drive home, we've had people drive from Washington, we've had them drive from Canada, California, all over the country here to pick up dogs. And I think that's a great thing if you can spare the time to do that. When you do that on the way home, I recommend you have a tie out of some sort, a small tie out that you can get from a small dollar store, Family Dollar, and a 10, 12-foot cable, so that on your way home, when you stop at rest areas and all, you can tie your dog out under a shade tree, put a little bit of water and food out there. Most of these dogs are not going to eat on the way home. Most of them's not going to drink the water. Most of them's not going to go to the bathroom. If you're driving and you got a 6-hour or a 12-hour or 14-hour ride, or even if you stay in a motel room overnight, their routines changed up a good bit. So they're not just going to act like, hey, I've been traveling with you for 4 years. So don't be alarmed if it takes until the next day when your dog gets home before they go out, go to the bathroom, and eat their food and actually relax some. If you try to walk these dogs at a rest area, they're going to walk next to your left leg for 5 miles. They're not going to the bathroom. They have been walking and sitting at heel for months when they leave here. So their main thing to do is to walk and pay attention to their handling when they're out. That's why a small tie out under a shade tree, so that you can back off and watch them from 20 or 30 yards away. Maybe read the news on your phone, you know, read a magazine, sit in your vehicle, watch them out of the air conditioner for a minute. Just let the dog relax. It might take them 20 minutes or so. Some of them's going to go to the bathroom, but most of them's going to sit there and watch you. But if you walk them around at a rest area on the drive home, they're not going to the bathroom. So I want to take a little dog real quick, and we're going to bounce and play with some tennis balls for a minute here. And I'm going to show you a couple things, believe it or not, that I see when people come down that they do with these dogs that kind of throws them off a little bit. So follow me over here. So this little puppy here is just getting into obedience training. So whenever we bounce and play with these balls, a lot of people come and they want to rear back and throw the ball 50 yards. Well, there's usually other handlers here training. So we don't rear back and throw the ball hard. A lot of times the dog's going to get right in front of you and look at you. And if you rear back and throw that ball, most of the times he's not going to see it. Can he get used to that? Sure he can. But in the beginning, I would just pet that dog, bounce that ball right there in the ground. And it's not about throwing that ball 50 yards. It's about engaging with the dog and having fun. So It's not about going 100 yards. Just short retrieves right there. Dog gets the ball, comes to you, has fun. Over and over and over. You don't have to wear him out if you're bouncing at 15 yards. Hey, 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 hey. You can just sit there and play with him. They can do this right here 10 or 15 times versus 3 of them at 60 yards by the time you throw that ball and it bounces halfway to the house up there. So the very first thing is just making the dog think, hey, this place is Disney World. I relocated. These people are friendly as can be. They throw this ball for me, they bounce this ball, they roll this ball, and me and these people have fun. So once you get past this phase right here, we're gonna go into the next phase, and we'll shoot some clips to add onto this video, show you what that is. Good God. Okay, so at this point, your dog is through the relocating as far as getting familiar with you, the new house, the new people, the new smells. You've been bouncing tennis balls for a few days. Your dog's happy as can be. So with the leashes that we use, I'm gonna go over this leash. I'm gonna go over what we train for obedience, the commands. I'm gonna put a couple of pointers in there, and then we're gonna demonstrate. We're gonna make this little dog actually fail by the way the handler handles the dog, so that we can demonstrate the corrections that we would do to correct it. Okay, so first of all, the leashes that we use, we make up, it's just a simple 1.5 inch welded ring, small little rope that comes from Walmart. We used to buy the designer leashes, and after so many of them sinking in the ponds and everything else, we just started making them up. We run the rope through the ring, and then we flip the ring against the rope. We go around it, and we come back through. So whenever we tug, there's no cinching on a dog's neck. It's like a dead choke chain. One ring on the choke chain is live. If you pull that ring, it'll cinch, and the other ring just pulls back. If you ever dealt with a choke chain, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So we'll run the rope back through the ring like so. So we'll work the dog, it just tugs on the dog's neck. So I'm gonna recommend that whenever you start your obedience work, that you go back to a leash. This dog just came from the facility here, where it was raised up, taught to love to retrieve. Then it was taught that it had to do obedience work and get retrieves for rewards. Then it got moved to a new location, and these new people's been playing with it for 2, 3, 4 days, and the dog thinks everything's fine and dandy and fun and no rules. So when you start with your leash, when this dog walks at heel, whenever you stop, wherever you're facing, this dog should face. The dog's ear should barely be in front of your kneecap or your shin. Whenever you stop, that dog should be looking and facing where you're facing. Its chest should be lined up with your chest. So every time that we walk, we'll tell them heel. We'll have a slight amount of slack between the dog's neck and our hand. And right as we stop, we'll give a little bite to let the dog know that's as far as you go. You stop right there. And if the dog's 4 feet, this is the dog's 4 feet here. The dog's 4 feet should be lined up and facing front feet, back feet, right where you're facing. So if you stop and that dog is twisted and facing over here, we would just do a little move like this and line that dog up and face that dog where we're facing. If you allow that dog to walk and sit at heel sloppy, not pay attention to you, smell the ground, face wherever they want to face, pay attention to something over there, walk out in front of you, your retrieving drills are never going to be good. At best, they're going to be 20%. If that dog walks 8 inches from your left leg, not paying attention to you, not saying you're in charge, what are we doing here and what am I doing for you, then your retrieving is never going to be pretty. Like I said, at best 20%. So when you walk, every time you stop in the beginning, boom, right as you stop, you bite that leash, make that dog sit with you. You walk, right as you stop, you bite that leash, make the dog sit with you. The dog's twisted, you just twist them a little bit and straighten them up. And then once you did this for maybe 8 or 10 minutes, cat was sleeping in the shed over there when I started the video and I scared him, so now he's mad at me or something over there. Once you did this for 8 or 10 minutes, then we're going to go into the single retrieve. But before we go into the single retrieve, the basics of obedience that we train the dogs here, walking, paying attention what's going on here, paying attention to my handler. He stopped, I sat down, what are we doing next? We're going that way, dog turns with you. You're going this way, dog turns with you. That's what we're going to go over first. Go ahead and walk your son. So right as he stops, he's going to bite that leash. You see the dog swallow there? That's a sign of passiveness. So she swallows, she's looking forward. She'll pay attention to the handler. She might glance at the ground a little bit. She's looking forward, he turns, she's watching where he's going. Whenever he stops, boom, she kind of glances up, see her swallow there. So as he turned to the right, the dog glanced to the left a little bit, then checked right back with him. Behind me, there's the cameraman. Behind the cameraman, 80 yards, there's another dog and handler. So she's kind of observing what's going on, but she's really paying attention to the handler. She's walking with him. If her nose goes down, he's just going to bump the lead up. If she gets too far out forward, he's going to bump her back. Okay, so this time do a circle. And I'm having him stop facing the camera, stopping facing the camera so that you can see him and the dog lined up. Whenever you stop this time, twist a little bit. He's going to fail. He's going to mess up this time. Then he's going to correct the dog. So whenever he stops, if he stops real quick like, and the dog is there, he's going to step over, step forward, and pull the dog forward. If she's a little bit too far behind you, this time stop and twist towards her a little bit. So whenever, if you stop and the dog gets in front a little bit like that there, so he's facing here, straight forward at me, and the dog's facing over there, all he's going to do is step over and push her over and line her up to where he's facing. If you do that with these dogs, it's going to take, the dog's going to say, hey, who's this new person? Are they really in charge? If you do this basic stuff right here, just a little bit, the dog will fall right under you. When these dogs leave here, they haven't been in charge of much their whole life. They've been retrieving, they've learned they had a boss, they like retrieving with their boss. So if they go there and get away with murder for 3 months, sure, you're going to have trouble. But if you just give them a couple days of chasing a tennis ball and having fun, then go into this should come very easily. So next is the retrieve. Face route this way out here. When you do your retrieves in the beginning, I would use my leash at first. So as he goes to throw the dummy, there's 2 times the dog may try to break on you. And them 2 times are going to be right as the dummy leaves your hand and right as the dummy hits the ground. So in the very beginning, right as you go to throw the dummy, say sit. Right as the dummy goes hit the ground, say sit. After it hits the ground, give it a second or so, send the dog. We usually send them on their name. If their name starts with an S, we usually send them on fetch. So we don't want them to get confused telling them sit, 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 then Sam to retrieve. So we'll let you know what we're sending the dog on, but you should do this over and over. And in the beginning, with these basic dogs, the video will continue on for the people that got premium started dogs, but for the basic dogs, all you want to do is a single retrieve. Walk them, do them short, over and over and over. The dog has to learn the way you say their name. The dog has to learn what body language you're going to use, if you're going to use any at all. The dog's going to learn how fast you walk, how you twist, how you turn, a lot of things. So you do these singles over and over at 15, 20 yards, and I would do them for 2 or 3 days before I took my lead off the dog. When you take your lead off of it. When you take the lead off of the dog, you're going to do the singles. Let's fire up and let's see if we can't make her break. Now, we've taught these dogs no. So if they break, we can tell them no. They should stop and reset at heel. So he's going to walk with her, pet her, and fire up. See if he can get her to break. See her get that extra tail wag. See him teasing her. Watch here. Let's see if he can make her break.
No, no, no.
So she made almost of that dummy, and she stopped and came back. We have already walked these dogs through this, and if that dog breaks and goes and gets that dummy, all Brandon's going to do is walk out there and knock that dummy out of her mouth, tell her no, and walk her away from it. He's not going to let the dog bring him the dummy with a wagging tail. If you do that, these dogs already know this, but they're going to have a new owner. They're going to have a new person. They're going to have a little bit of extra attention and love, and if they get a little bit of extra freedom that they're not getting here. So it's going to be important that after 3-4 days of running your singles with your leash, that your leash disappears and you establish no. And when you establish no, a lot of times, do the walking drill, Brandon. We'll walk and throw the dummy. Walk right to the left of it. And we'll walk the dog on past it, on the left. I'm still trying to teach Brandon left and right. He's almost got it. There you go. Now let her go get the next one. She hears that big airplane. And then he'll pick that dummy right there up. And you can do that right there, and we'll walk a big block around the whole property. And we'll let the dog get every 3rd dummy or so. We might stop, make the dog sit at heel, pick the dummy up right next to our right foot while the dog's sitting on our left side. And then we'll walk the dog and do it over and over and over. And maybe every 3 or 5 dummies we'll let the dog go pick up to where they got to walk with us and wait till we send them to go get it. As far as shooting goes and bird work goes, these dogs all have a lot of shooting work done with them. We use a lot of frozen birds. I wouldn't, when my dog gets there, I'd give my dog a couple weeks to really, really adjust. And I'd have my buddy start off 50 yards, but in 4 or 5 shots, he should be able to be right next to you. I wouldn't relocate the dog for 3 weeks. The dog doesn't hear any shooting. The dog's still a little bit unsure. You know, it's kind of settled in, but not all the way there. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 6 times over the dog's head with a live 12 gauge. I wouldn't take that approach. I would take the approach that the dog's really comfortable with me when I get about 3 weeks in. And I'd have my buddy start 50 yards off and just slowly move closer. And within 4 or 5 shots, he should be able to stand right next to you. A lot of people also get the shoulder launchers, and that's a great thing too. He can shoot that shoulder launcher, and as the dog's retrieving it, y'all two just get closer and closer. And within 3 shots, you're shooting a shoulder launcher over her. Once the dog's good with you in the shooting and is settled in good with you, you're good to do whatever as far as that goes. But if the dog is still a little bit unsure about the new place, or you just took the dog to a new hunt lease, and the dog still got his tail down, looking around a little nervous about the new location, I wouldn't put her in a blind with 2 or 3 guns going off over her, because it'll push him over the edge and they'll say, I just don't like this. Okay, so with the basic started dogs, when you're doing your singles, and this will also carry on to your premium started dogs as well. When you do your marks with them, he's doing real short here for demonstration reasons. I wouldn't do this.
No.
I wouldn't point my hand out there. When a dog gets older, 2 and 3 years old, and you got 2 down, and you've done this with him 1,000 times, that's fine. In the beginning, I'd line him up to it. Line your chest and his chest up, and send him to it. Okay, so we've got to the point where we call a condition 99% of these started dogs. And what he's doing there, he's just demonstrating. Whenever we call a condition him, we use the leash. When we pull that leash, we touch that button. When he shakes his hand, simulating touching that button. That dog gets out front, he touches that button. That dog gets pulled of the leash, he touches that button. When they go home, they'll be very familiar with the button. They will be very familiar with it. And most of these dogs will operate on a 1 and a 2. We use the button for 2 main things: out front and nose on the ground. Whenever we get these dogs, we're walking them for a month and a half. They're understanding their obedience. We're running opposite direction doubles with them, or we're doing basic singles with them for a while, and they're understanding it. We'll a lot of times go to that button and polish up so the dog understands that when he puts his nose to the ground, besides the handler pulling the leash, or even when the leash disappears, he can touch the button. We don't want the nose on the ground because the dog will start meandering and venturing on us and exploring as we're trying to walk and do the work. We don't want the dog out in front of us because whenever we stop, the dog needs to be next to us and not in front of us. So that's the 2 things we would use the button for, and they'll be very familiar with the button. I've also got a video that goes over the collar that we use and all the instructions on the collar as well. Okay, so whenever the basic started dogs do their water work, one thing I'd make sure of, depending on where you're at in time of the year, watch your temperatures. If it's cold, make sure you don't overrun your young dog too much in the cold water. And if it's hot, want to make sure that you don't make it to where he's wore smooth out and it's turning into serious work for you. Whenever it's hot, a lot of times if you're coming from the field headed towards the water, them dogs will want to get out in front of you some. So be careful not to let them get over anxious because they know that water work's coming. Make sure they walk with you at heel, and you don't have a walk that's 100 yards from the field to the water, and then all of a sudden you get by the water, you're having to scald his butt. You don't want that dog thinking that the water is the reason that he's getting in trouble. So just pay attention to that if you're ways away from the water, headed towards the water during the summertime with them. And whenever the dog goes whenever you first release the dummy, and the dummy first goes to smack the water, that's whenever I would make sure I told the dog to sit, because that's the 2 times that dog will try and break on you. Right whenever he releases it and right whenever it smacks the water. Sometimes whenever it hits, you also want to relocate a little bit, walking forward some, and then stop him again, and then go up to the edge of the water and send him sometimes send him 15 feet back. You don't want him to get a routine on you. So you want to throw different things at him. But in order to do this, you just take your time and do short singles over and over and over. Make sure the dog's understanding what's going on. This will help big time to get your basic dog on the same page with you, even your premium dog. Basically, you start small and go big and work on building their confidence up. This time of the year, we usually shadow hopping. We go from the shadows of the trees to the clouds because it's just so hot. We give the dogs a few retreats, we cool them off. We do the same thing over and over. Whenever it gets cold, we got to be careful not to get them too cold whenever they're younger. So we're running them on the water some, and then we're going into the field with them to make the dog actually warm up by running land retrieves. This time of the year, we're cooling them off by running water retrieves. So he did that there, trying to get the dog to break. If you throw that dummy and let it bounce right in front of you, a lot of times that dog will take off because it's like that dummy's running away from him. So he wants to make sure that dog isn't going to try and break and take off when he's not supposed to. Okay, so the final part for transitioning these started dogs, we went over getting them used to you. We went over going over their commands. Now we're going to go over a few examples on transitioning this dog to the lifestyle he had here, to the lifestyle that you have envisioned for him. You bring this dog there and give him complete freedom, he's going to throw most of the stuff out the window. So with the basic started dog, you should be looking at 3 to 4 weeks to go through a routine of we come home, I come home, we do our work routine. You are contained of some sort. In the morning time, maybe I do a short work routine with you. In the evening time, a short work routine with you. When you get to the end of the second week with your basic started dog, a little bit of freedom, hanging around the house and all. And as you move into the third week, more and more freedom. And by the end of your fourth week, you should be able to have that dog to where you're working him, giving commands, and you're going over what the dog is supposed to do as far as living with you and being a part of your household and your family. Now, the biggest thing to remember is that if you do the household and part of the family first, he's going to make the retrieving rules a little ugly. So I would make sure that I did my work stuff first. The dog understands that he works with you and you're the new person in charge. And then I would go over the household part of things. If you're going to have a premium dog, I would spend a little more time because you've got to go over 2 or 3 more retrieving drills. So I'd pitch your 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 weeks. In a nutshell, if you just do it for a week or a week and a half and start to introduce a bunch of freedom, you're going to hit problems. There's no two ways about it. If you do it for 4 to 6 weeks and start to introduce your freedom, your dog's going to listen and respond to you that much better and that much smoother. If you've got a dog that's crate trained, we also have videos that go over crate training procedures and how we do the crate training and get you used to the dog used to the crate training. We've got platform videos and all sorts of videos that we can share with you if we've done certain training with your dog so that your dog can understand and you can understand how we got your dog to that level and how to get your dog to perform in certain commands. And once again, thanks for giving us the opportunity to purchase and install a dog from us.